Hey everybody, this is lesson 7 from module 4. What do markup and discount mean and how can we solve these problems? Okay, go ahead and write down your essential question and then we're going to talk about the terms and their definitions. Now, as we've talked about before with definitions, it's not so much memorizing it word for word, it's understanding what do those mean. And these are actually some things that you definitely will hear in the future outside of just the walls of a math classroom. So markup, what is markup? We talked about this in class. It's the amount of increase in a price. The amount of increase in a price. Okay, marked down is the amount of decrease in a price. The original price is the starting price. Or what it was before, or what it began as, depending on the problem. And then the markup, sorry, the selling price is the original minus the discount. So if there's a discount, you're going to take that amount off. So the selling price is the original minus the discount. Okay, and that would give you the sale price. Or the original plus the markup, and that would also give you the sale price. So it depends on the context, but if you think about this, markup is for maybe like a store owner who buys something at a wholesale cost and then they increase it because they want to make what's called a profit. And then a markdown, you think of this as like the consumer or the shopper. If something is on sale, it goes down in price, okay, from what it started out as. So again, it depends on the context of the problem. Okay, and then we're not going to do the equations. We are going to continue to use proportions. Those are equations, by the way. So when we're solving the proportions, that isn't the equation. So the reason I like that is because we've said in class they can be used for just about every problem. So that's a good way for us to set the problems up. There's more than one way though. So we can show it using the double number line or the tape diagram, and then we can also use it with the proportion. Okay, so Games Galore buys the latest video game at a wholesale price of $30. Of course, you want to mark the text when you hear things like that. The markup rate, okay, they're going to tell me something here. The markup rate is 40%. You use your allowance to purchase the game at the store. How much will you pay, not including tax? Okay, so all we really want to know is if the video game store buys it for $30 and then they mark it up 40%, how much are you going to pay? So you have to understand what the $30 means. This means that the people, whoever runs the video store, they purchased the game for $30. Are they going to sell it to you for more or less than $30? They're going to sell it to you for more than $30. They want to make money off of it. It only costs the store $30 to purchase. They're going to mark it up by 40%. So there's two ways to solve this. We're going to call this proportion 1. And then we're going to call this one down here proportion 2. Sorry, my pen is not writing very well. Okay, there we go. All right, for proportion 1, we're going to find out what 40% is and then determine the selling price. Okay, so we know that the wholesale price, or what it started out was $30, and we know that they mark it up by 40%. All right, pause the video, solve this, and see what happens. Okay, so you didn't get something more than $40. What did you get? You should have gotten $12, but they do not sell it for $12. $12 is the amount of markup. It's the amount of markup. So how much do they sell it for? If they mark it up by $12 or 40%, what's the selling price? 30 plus 12 equals the selling price. They bought it for 30, they're going to mark it up by $12, and that's going to cost you, the buyer, $42. There's another way that we could do this, and it kind of cuts out that last step there. Because you know that a lot of kids are going to tell me that $12 is the answer, right? You already know that. You know a lot of people are going to say $12, but the question says how much will you pay, not including tax. So in this proportion, let's go ahead and actually, instead of using 40%, what does it mean to mark something up by 40%? It means to pay 140% of the original cost. We can still put 30 here. Watch what happens when you solve. Pause this solve and tell me what you get when you solve for x in the second proportion. You jumped right to $42, the selling price. That's because a markup of $42 is this 140% right here. Okay? That includes the markup. It's the wholesale price plus the markup, because 100% plus 40% is 140%. Okay, we can do that same kind of thing with discount. So let's turn the page and let's keep practicing some similar problems with markup and discount. Okay, we actually answered these similar questions below or on the previous page. Okay, on Black Friday, a $300 mountain bike is discounted by 30%. That's important. And then discounted an additional 10%. Does that mean it was discounted 40%? We're going to find out. We're going to go ahead and solve this because something interesting happens. Okay, let's find the sale price of the bicycle. So first, let's find the discount by 30%. So it was $300. And I want to stop real quick and ask you, why did I put 70% here? If it's discounted by 30%, you can, let me explain something. And we're going to do this fast because you know how to solve these proportions now. You can find 30% of $300, okay? It's $90, but the sale price of the bicycle is not $90. It's $90 off. $90 off. So what you would have to do here is you would have to subtract 90 from 300, and you'll get the right answer if you do that. Or discounted by 30%, it means 100% minus 30% equals 70%. So it's like those problems we did where it was, someone had 70% less than someone else. Okay, so now we have our cross products and we can solve, and guess what we're going to get? We're going to get the same answer as if we had done the extra step of 300 minus $90. Okay, in this example, X is $210. So $210 is the sale price. Okay, so that's not it though. Now it says that it's discounted an additional 10%. So now we need to use this to find 10% off. Pay attention to that word off. Many, many kids forget that off means to take off, not just find 10%, take 10% off of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and take 10% off of that amount. If I take 10% off, hopefully you know that you can find 90%. You can find 10% and subtract it, or you can just find 90% of $210. Okay, go ahead, pause it, solve it, and see what you get. Did you get 189 as the final selling price? Okay, very good. Let's go over to C. After both discounts were taken, what was the total percent discount? We're just going to explain that this is not the same as 40% off. Okay, if I were to take 40% off of the original price of the mountain bike, that would be 60% of the mountain bike because 40% off. And if you solve this, you do not get the same thing. You actually get 180. Okay, and the bike doesn't cost $180, it costs $189. $180 is not the selling price. Okay, when it says an additional 10% off, like it did on the bottom of page 54, you have to take 10% off of the discounted price or the sale price. That's what it means when it says additional 10%. Okay, and then the last one, it just says instead of purchasing the bike for $300, how much would you save if you bought it before 5 a.m.? So if you bought it after 5 a.m., it was $210, but if you bought it before 5 a.m., you would get that additional 10% off, and you would only have to pay $189. So if you subtract those, you understand that you save $21. Save $21 if we buy it before 5 a.m. Okay, because that additional 10% off. Okay, in exercise 1, Sasha went shopping and decided to purchase a set of bracelets for 25% off of the regular price. Okay. If she buys them today, she will receive an additional 5%. So 25% off, then 5% off of the sale price. So first we have to find the sale price. We can do that by finding 25% and subtracting, but I think it's quicker to just say that would be 75% of the original cost. Okay, so go ahead and find out what the $44 bracelets would be if we just paid 75% of them. This is where you pause it. Go ahead and see what the sale price is. Okay, did you get $33? Okay, then we take 5% off of that. It doesn't sound like it's going to be that much, 5% of $33. Remember, it's 5% off of $33, not $44. Okay, and 5% off, that would mean that I would still have to pay for 95%. Okay, 95% is 5% off. Write that so you know where the 95 came from. Okay, go ahead and solve that and see what you get. Unpause it if you already have the final answer and you can see if you're right. Did you get $31.35? Hopefully you did. That is the final. After I take 25% off, then I take 5% off of the new sale price. I will get the final sale price of $31.35. Okay, this is the last one we're going to do in this video. A golf store purchases a set of clubs at a wholesale price of $250. Mr. Edmond learned that the clubs were marked up by 200%. The wording on that is kind of confusing, so I'm just going to explain this because when I read it, I thought, wait, are they already marked up 200%? No, the way this one is being phrased, it's saying that he learns that the clubs, I think what it's trying to say is that they're going to be marked up by 200%. So they're going to be marked up by 200%. Mark up by 200%. Is it possible to have a percent increase greater than 100%? Yes, and that means it will more than double. Okay, so what is the retail price? That means what are they going to sell it for? What will the store sell the clubs for? What price will they sell it for? Okay, so here's how this works. If they bought the clubs for $250, this is actually the easiest part, to put $250 down there by 100%. Now, if I put 200% here, that's not going to give me the final selling price. That will tell me how much I marked the clubs up by. So I'm just going to tell you right now, if you put 200% here, you don't have to write this next part down. If you put 200% here and solve it, you're going to get $500. They do not sell the clubs for $500. They're selling the clubs for an additional 200% of what it was. So we can do that. We can do $500 and add it on, or if it's being marked up 200%, we can say that going up 200% from there is actually 300%. Okay, so go ahead and solve that and see what you get. Okay, if you are listening or watching, hopefully that means you unpaused it. And did you get $750? If they mark it up by 200%, that means that they're actually selling it for 300% because it went up 200%. Okay, and that's going to be a wrap on lesson 7. Don't forget to go ahead and do your summary. So turn to page 59 and complete your summary.